at all. This is the March 24th, 2026 open meeting of the Hopkinton Conservation Commission being conducted remotely consistent with an act extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency. The new law authorizes all members of a public body to continue participating in meetings remotely. The open meeting law's requirement that a quorum of the body and the chair be physically present at the meeting location remains suspended. For this meeting, the Hopkinton Conservation Commission is convening by video conference via Zoom, as posted on the town's web meeting calendar and the Conservation Commission agenda, identifying how the public may join. Additionally, the meeting may also be broadcast by HCAM through one or many of its channels or platforms. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that all attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that others may be able to see you and take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. Please also keep yourself on mute unless and until called on by the chair. Supporting materials that have been provided to the members of the commission for this meeting are available on the town's website. This meeting will feature public comment. After commission members and staff have discussed each project application on the agenda, the chair will open the discussion to public comment. Members of the public who wish to speak are asked to identify their name and address. 3 minutes will be afforded for each public comment. Each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted via roll call of the members. I will now confirm which commission members are present. Melissa Ricas.
Present.
Ed Harrow.
Present.
Peggy Shaw.
Present.
Jim Cirillo. Walter Garland. Matt Moyen. I am Ted Barker Hook, and I am present. I will now confirm staff that are present. Judy Day, the Hopkinton Conservation Administrator.
Present.
Anna Rogers, our Environmental and Inspectional Services Coordinator.
Present.
And Joe Orzel of Lucas Environmental.
Present.
Before I give it back to Melissa, I just want to point out to members of the public and anybody else interested that we've got a couple continuations and one applicant has withdrawn. The 7 South Barn Road application has been withdrawn per request of the applicant. And both of the Wall Street development hearings have been continued per applicant request to April 7th, 2026.
All right. Thank you, Ted.
You're welcome.
Let's get started with work session items. We can go right to 10 Exchange Street. Enforcement order.
Through the chair.
Oh, yes, Judy.
The homeowner requested to be present for this discussion, and I don't see her in the meeting. If
Okay.
you're all right with circling back on this one.
Yeah, we can do that. Then Oakhurst Road. Is Oakhurst Road here? They're actually under both work session and continued hearings. See Dave.
Yes, I'm here. Sorry.
You're here.
Click myself on here. I don't know if Dave's on yet.
Okay.
Yep,
we'll give
I'm
you-
here. Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
okay. Sorry, Dave. I didn't see you.
Okay. Let's go ahead and I guess talk about the enforcement order first so we can kind of wrap up that document. So Judy, you drafted that for us. Do you want to go over it for us?
Sure.
Any highlights?
Yep. So first couple pages are standard paperwork documenting the violation, nothing you haven't seen before. The conditions are pretty similar to the ones that the commission approved for 47 Oakhurst. So it's specific to the mitigation plantings and the hardscape removal, so the mitigation aspects of the notice of intent application. So this is all general boilerplate standard conditions at the beginning. And then the more specific conditions regarding expectations for the restoration and mitigation. So plan reference, standard monitor plantings for 2 growing seasons, requiring a report at the end of those 2 growing seasons to show at least an 80% survival rate of the plantings. Condition about stabilization, and then stating that no COC for the order of conditions may be issued until the enforcement order has been complied with.
Okay.
So happy to take any questions or feedback this time.
Yeah, do you have in there, or maybe it's the top, I can't remember, a time frame for getting this done?
So I have 2 growing seasons for the plantings, with the final report to be submitted no later than December 2027. So that's assuming the plantings go in this spring. I don't have a timeline on the patio hardscape reduction. If you'd like me to add something in there, I'm happy to.
I think we should. I think for an enforcement order, we should have date that we are expecting this to be completed. And I can't remember what we've done in the past. We've always done, so 2 growing seasons no later than December 2027.
I guess the patio would have to be removed before the plantings go in, at least in one of the areas. I think there's some overlap. But
Yeah.
maybe either of the Daves can talk to their expected timeline.
Okay.
I expect to get on this right away. So, yeah, the patio will be the very first thing I intend on removing so that I can move forward on getting the plantings in this spring so that they'll have a full season to grow.
Okay. So Judy, can we put a time frame on there that the patio and the plantings will be installed? So the growing season, it starts when? March?
March 15th, yes, so we're already in there.
We're in there.
Could say something like 3 or 6 months following issuance of the order, just to make sure it's done within, relatively the season.
Yeah. So 6 months would put us April, May, June, July, August, September. I'm thinking September. I feel like 6 months would push it out of the growing season. If it wasn't done, bumped right up against there. So maybe 3. Does anyone else have any thoughts on that? On the commission?
Through the chair, I don't have a strong thought on that. I was thinking 4, but 3 is fine. I don't think it makes much of a difference. If the homeowner says it's the first job, 3 ought to be just fine. I have a different question on that, though, and maybe I need to see the map because the 2 different Oakhurst properties that we've discussed in recent months get confused in my head. Is the hardscape that needs to be removed, is it pushed right up against the lake? And if so, do we have anything in the enforcement order about proper removal of that hardscape so it doesn't impact the lake?
It looks like there is patio removal close to the lake. I don't know what the lake level is right now, if it's possible to get any erosion controls in there.
I don't know what that wording would be, Melissa or Judy, but I think some wording on a proper removal, if the patio is right up against the resource area like that, would make sense. But I don't have a proposal for that wording.
Yeah, Dave, can you remind us how tall that retaining wall is? Is it above? Is that ground level with the
So the
patio?
the top of the retaining wall is level with the patio. Maybe a suggestion would be is to leave a very small strip of patio to remain while the remainder of the plantings are taking place, and then do that last.
Um,
Can also condition temporary stabilization until the plantings have established like a straw or something like that.
Or mulch, yeah, yeah.
yeah, I like that idea. I feel like the pulling out of the patio will be pretty quick, but then the soil will be unstable until the plantings take. So yeah. You could probably put a fairly effective straw wattle along the wall too.
Yep, I agree.
Okay. Okay, if we can add that, Judy, and as a condition, as well as the 3-month date.
Yep, I can do that.
Can I request 3 months on the plantings and 6 months on the hardscape, mostly around the fire pit area? Only because sometimes it takes a while to get, or 4 months even, for workers on the hardscape part of it.
That's to put the
I
papers
want to do the
down.
plantings ASAP, because it's early spring and I want to get that going, but the getting the quotes and getting the workers and everything else going for, um, well, actually, not the removal of the hardscape. That part is easy. It's more the finishing the hardscape around the fire pit and that little 14-foot area, which always was patio. But for that, sometimes that might take a little longer.
Yeah. I'm okay with that.
Through the chair.
Yes, Judy?
I think that aspect of the project would be covered under the order of conditions, so it wouldn't
Right.
necessarily be subject to the same
Right.
timeline.
Oh, okay, sorry.
So that you have 3 years to do.
Okay. Whew.
Yep.
No, just joking.
If approved, and it hasn't been, approved yet, but
Okay. Does anyone have any other questions or comments on the draft enforcement order?
No, I would just encourage the applicant, whoever you hire to remove that hardscape, please check references. After all, we started this process because of some workers who it appears didn't quite know what they were up to. So
That I will.
Yeah, is there we could put a condition in there if there's not a standard one already, just to notify our staff when the work is going to take place. I think that would be helpful.
I love that idea.
I can add that if it's not already in there. I
Okay.
know it would be in the order, but I'm not sure if I've been writing those into the enforcement orders.
Okay. Okay. With that being said, can I get a motion to,
I'm sorry,
oh,
can we speak?
but sure, someone from the public. This is in regards to the enforcement order that we're discussing right now. Go ahead.
This is Rhea McNamara, 39 Oakhurst Road. Has the commission actually walked this property?
I have not. Our staff has.
But the voting members have not?
I don't know if anyone else on the commission has. Not that I'm aware of.
This is Ed. I have not.
It's kind of important to understand exactly what's happened here, because the prior owner was reported to the town several times for encroaching onto the water. And then David, came along and he cleaned up the site, but it seems like, he definitely changed some things around, including sending that shed down closer to the water. If you're going to do an enforcement order, I think that the enforcement order should include the removal of the shed. The perpetual building into the lake from ownership to ownership, when new people come and see no, effort to enforce, then, they do it too, and it gets worse. I mean, there's no question that the former tent was not a permanent structure, and the shed was actually placed closer to the water than even the tent. Because if you looked at the site, you would have seen the stumps of the trees that were there prior to all this hardscape and shed being placed there. Now, if you look at Mr. Marquand's notice, he says this is approximate location of a shed, but it's not even a shed it's not even a shed shape. And so I do encourage you to walk the property before you vote on anything in terms of enforcement here, because I think you're missing the bigger picture. That's it.
Thank you.
Permission to speak to the board? If you show the first plan where it shows the previous shed that runs pretty much the whole length, you'll see that goes past the fence line, almost right to the water, almost to that corner, maybe about 2 or 3 feet off the water. And then if you go back to the third drawing where it shows the new existing shed, the new shed, you'll notice that it's significantly back from the end of the fence line, about 10 feet back. And that's where the slope of the land changes, and that was the only flat area. And according to the building department at the time, when it was inspected, they were fine with that location because of the pre-existing shed that ran the whole length of the property over there.
Through the
So-
chair. Did anyone look at the pictures that I sent in regarding this tent?
So yes, I was going to get into this with the notice of intent hearing discussion, but since they're related, we can talk about it now. So I did go through the photos that were provided of the structure or the tent or whatever we want to call it. And I would agree that based on what is shown on the existing conditions or previous conditions plan, it does not strike me as a building as it's labeled on that previous plan. What I did notice in looking at it is that the structure was housing things like lawnmower. It looked like there were some cans and just miscellaneous things that you would find in a garage or used for yard maintenance and things like this under that tarp or that tent. So I think it was more permanent than just a pop-up tent, but not, I wouldn't necessarily classify it as a structure with a foundation. It had dirt floor. The shed that's there now does a lot better job of containing those type of items. When I looked at the pictures of the tent-like structure, I'd be concerned about stormwater and spills picking up pollutants and things from what was underneath that tent structure. I do think the new shed is smaller than that tent and provides some benefit in that regard, even though it is, where it is. It's not closer to the lake, I don't think, than the previous structure or previous tent type structure. So we gained some lawn area. So in my mind, looking at them, you know, for what purpose they served and what, you know, potential risk factors there were to the resource area. I feel like the new shed does provide benefit over the old tent like structure. That being said, I don't know if anyone on the commission has thoughts they want to share on that topic.
Through the chair.
Yes, Ted.
I looked at all the photos too, and I agree with your analysis. It looked to me like the old tarp and framing. Again, I don't think building is the right word, nor do I think tent, like what I put up when I go backpacking, is the right word either. But that looked to me to be an environmental hazard. What we have now doesn't appear to be. And if the plans are drawn accurately, and Ria, I don't know if you're suggesting they aren't, this certainly does look further from the lake. We are getting plantings in between the shed, and we are getting lawn area, which isn't always my favorite thing, but it's better than a tarp with lawnmowers leaking into the earth. So I do think it's appropriate that this be part of the NOI discussion. I don't think it needs to be a part of the enforcement order. As for walking the property, I have not, but I have driven by it and preened my neck as best as I can, which I grant is not the same as walking the property. But that's as close as I've come. I do trust Judy and Anna to present their honest feedback on how the grounds look and that their photos are not, I don't know, misleading. So I am comfortable not having the shed on the enforcement order. I am comfortable, the current shed, and I am comfortable once we talk about the NOI. I'm likely to allow it to be there as well.
Through the chair.
I'm just going to open it up to other commission members first to see if they want to provide any input.
This is Ed, and I think I've raised this question before. When one wants to put a dock in a pond like Maspinock, one has to go to DEP and get a permit. And I'm just curious is if DEP has commented or had an opportunity to comment on the, I guess I will call it, materials that are beyond the property boundary into the lake.
Through the chair.
Yes, Judy.
We did get comments from DEP. I can pull them up if that would be helpful, but I don't think they commented on the shed. They did mention that Chapter 91 approval would be needed for retaining wall, steps, or docks.
Yeah.
But that would be conditioned in any order of conditions that the commission might approve.
Yep.
This is tiny. There we go. So these are all of DEP's comments on the notice of intent, not on the violation.
Yeah, we've had these for a while. I believe that these comments have been addressed
Right.
through the process.
Yep.
Okay.
I do have one quick question, if you don't mind. Do all docks, if you're going to install a floating dock, does that need to get approval going forward with the state and you guys?
Yes.
And so if someone does that, we would need to call you first.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right, I'll open it back up to the public for additional comments.
Am I the only public?
I believe you are.
Rhea McNamara, 39 Oakhurst. Well, I'm glad that you were able to discern that this was not a permanent structure of the tent that was there. And again, the prior owner of my house was very, very upset with the prior owner of David's house because he encroached not towards towards the water, but he encroached on her property as well. And it wasn't until I was able to put this fence up that I could stop the encroachment because he was literally building things onto my property. You know, you guys are in the enforcement business here, and all I can say is that, you know, if someone puts a tent up and then they put some boards in it and they put a lawnmower in it, and over time it becomes this, you know, gross thing. You know, I hopefully somebody does something, but you know, nobody ever did anything with Bill Anderson. He just, I mean, everyone called on him. I ended up calling the police because he had propane and lighter fluid in the shed, not the tent, but the shed that was actually adjacent to the existing deck. So when I see that, you know, we just ignore the fact that that was, you know, something that was a brain issue with this man, and we say it's okay to build a structure where there was no quote unquote structure before, but just a dump. You know, I'm a little frustrated because, gosh, if that's the way to get away with, you know, building structures on the lake, you know, everyone's going to know that at this point. Mike Shepard, he probably never saw the thing when it was still there, the tent. He probably saw it after it was removed, and then the new shed just appeared one day. And I think that the new shed looks a hell of a lot better than the tent. And sure, it's a much more protected thing for whatever's inside it. I'm just questioning, why are we allowing a shed here when One Oakhurst Road couldn't have a shed there, you know, close to the water? I mean, everybody along the lake wants to have a shed because they don't have enough storage. That's my point. The shed was never finished on the top. The shingles are still missing. I mean, I'm just pointing out this because I've been living next to it. And when we had 2 years of construction here with a backhoe, you know, making sounds, and then, oh my God, how much, you know, rock cutting was going on forever. David wasn't living in the house. He was somewhere else. So, I mean, we're the ones that were affected, the abutters, not just that this is part of the lake situation. So hopefully you can see some wisdom in keeping the shed there because everyone's going to figure out how to put a shed next to the lake now.
Well, I know that this is the first time that this is being brought up to the commission with this application, or not application. It was brought up to us because of unpermitted work being done, you know, with the retaining wall. So despite the history, we're, you know, a volunteer commission, and we don't see you know, we can't just drive around looking for things all day long as far as violations go. And we try to pick up on things when we do see them, as does our staff, and communication between departments, but you know, we do the best that we can. So when this was brought to our attention, this is how we got to where we are right now. And I wouldn't say that we're just allowing what was put there to remain without any remediation or mitigation. That's what's being shown on this plan right now, is removing some of the patio that was put in, replacing with plantings, putting in this filter strip that we've been requiring of all applicants who come in front of us, or violations that come in front of us along the lake. We've really been trying to hold people, everyone, to the standard of improving the lakeshore along the lake.
include-
So I don't think anyone's getting off the hook here. And we'll continue to expect the same from all residents along the lake going forward, as I think we have over the past few years. So we do the best that we can with what we have. With that being said, Judy, anyone else on the commission, if have any other thoughts, comments, otherwise, I think we'll go ahead and vote on this enforcement order, and then we can move on to the notice of intent. Okay, can I get a motion to issue the enforcement order with the comments and additions that we discussed in this meeting, with signature by Anna or Judy?
I'd like to make that motion.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor, Ed,
With some trepidation, aye.
Peggy,
Aye.
Ted,
Ted is an aye.
and I myself am an aye. Okay. So let's bump over now to same site, notice of intent. So one of the things that we talked about in the last meeting to add to the plan was the average mean low water line, which I see has been updated. Dave, do you want to fill us in on that?
Yes, so after our March 10th meeting, we reached out to Kerry, DPW. Matt was sort of suggesting that we get an opinion from Kerry. She did get back to us very quickly. The usual drawdown is between 4 and 5 feet. She also chimed in with Eric Hardy. He also agreed that it's usually 4 to 5 feet. We uncovered some old evidence as well and came up with the same value, 4.5 to 5.2. We used 4.5 feet as an average. When we apply that, it brings our flood mean annual low water down to elevation 346.2, which is approximately 24 feet off of retaining wall number 2 and 32 feet off of retaining wall number 1A. So clearly it's outside the existing retaining wall and has no influence on that. We also, as a follow-up, we had made a small change on the button bush. We had talked about putting a minimum of 3 bushes in. We've updated the plan as well as to that. Had discussions with Judy about both those items a short time ago, week and a half ago. And I believe that those are the only changes that we had. And I think that's all that we had left over from our March 10th discussion.
Thank you. All right, so I think that addresses Matt's concern about the mean low water and all the work is outside of that, so that's good to hear. Judy, can you review for this notice of intent exactly what we would be including or I guess basically what we would be accepting? We're looking at obviously the shed, which we just discussed, and the patio that's under construction.
Sure. So it would be everything on this plan that wasn't addressed in the enforcement order. So the retaining walls, shed, I mean, even everything from the walkway, existing patios, the dock. And then I would note in the order of conditions that there's a connected enforcement order regarding the planting areas and the patio removal. So it would be very specific about what structures you're allowing to remain, as well as what you're allowing the homeowner to complete, which is just the patio that he requested.
Right. Okay. Does anyone have any questions, comments, concerns on the scope of the notice of intent?
Melissa,
Yes.
that includes the PIBs, I assume, right? The retaining walls as the PIB as we discussed, plus the one medallion in that existing planter.
Correct.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Yep.
Thank you, Dave.
May I just ask quickly, I'm looking for the PIB in the planter. Oh, there it is.
Yep.
Okay, I see it. I see it. Okay, thank you.
So just to reiterate, previously there was no filing for this property at all, right, Judy?
That's correct. Yes.
Not the building, not anything. So yeah. All right, if no one on the commission has any.
Melissa, I have one small question. I'm sorry. I was just reaching
Okay.
for my mute button. Could you remind me, Dave, what the walk number G? Am I reading that correctly? The walk, oh, it says stone. Maybe there's my answer. That's a stone walk. Is that true?
The walkway
No,
down to the right.
From the house to the shed. Is that stone?
Let's see. It's a stone wall. The wall, and it's up, the pavers go down to those steps, the kind of triangular, not triangular, but yeah, those the 3 steps that you see there. And then there's gravel in that corner to the left.
Oh, okay.
Right
This
where
helps a
Merrigan,
lot.
gravel down to yeah, below it too.
There you go.
And are those
Great.
the walk pavers similar to what I'm seeing with the under construction fire pit, or are they different? I guess my real question is how permeable is it?
I imagine they're similar. I think the lower level is similar to, or almost or identical to where the patio is.
David.
Dave, Mark,
It's-
can you clarify a little bit?
David, a question to David Holmes. There's no sealant. Those cracks between the pavers are not sealed, correct?
Correct.
Are there
There's
any
a gap,
spacing?
There's a joint, there's a grout, there's a gap in between them all.
Okay. And I think the patio where the fire pit is like a blue stone. Is that correct?
Um,
That we must see
no,
right on
only a
the
blue
picture,
stone
right?
kind of topper. It's just a, I don't know what you call it, but just patio stone.
And those will remain unsealed with those gaps between
Right.
the stones allowing water to infiltrate
Absolutely.
from the walkway and the fire pit.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, that was my only remaining question, Melissa.
Okay. All right, anyone from the public have any comments, questions? Okay. I think with that being said, I think all the information that we requested was provided, so we should go ahead and take a vote on this notice of intent application. So can I get a motion to that effect? With signatures by Judy and Anna, or Anna.
I'll make that motion.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All right. All in favor? Ed,
Aye.
Peggy,
Aye.
Ted.
A short preamble. This was a difficult one, but I think the applicant heard all of our concerns, and I think ultimately the site is better with this plan than it was before. So I am an aye.
And I would agree with that too, Ted. So I'm an aye. All right. So with that, you guys are all set. Thank you for working with us over the past year plus.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, board, for your time on this. I appreciate it.
Yep. All right, next up we have 28 Lakeshore Drive. It's a notice of intent continuation.
Through the chair, this is Ed.
Yes, Ed,
I noticed a typo.
on
And, and does that typo impact any vote that we take, or do we need to, correct the typo ahead of time? I believe
where-
raise should be RAZE.
raise.
On the agenda. Whoops.
Yeah, through the chair, that's just a brief description. I forget when we started adding those, just so that people kind of had an idea. So if we do not close tonight, then we will correct it for moving on for the continued agenda. Thank you.
And I thought they were lifting the house and then pulling it out and removing it. So I thought it was fine.
Okay. Now that we have that out of the way, Judy, you wanna go ahead and pull up the plan and give an update on what we have in front of us?
Sure. So the applicant provided the overlay plan showing existing and proposed conditions. That was a request of the commission at the last meeting. Let's see. We received comments from Joe recently, so the snow on the ground made it impossible for him to conduct site visits. So we did just today receive additional comments from him that I don't believe the applicant has had time to address, but they wanted to come with the revisions that they have made, the overlay plan, and continue the discussion that was started at the last meeting, and at least get some additional feedback from the commission on the project.
Okay.
That's all I have for now. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, this is helpful having this plan, for sure. I do have a couple questions, but I'll turn it over to Joe or Zell and see if you want to just give us a high level of your comments in case we can discuss the applicant.
Sure. Couple of comments that I'll note with respect to the proposed infiltration chambers. Recommend that the applicant provide some information on the on-site soil conditions and groundwater elevation, and not just rely on the mapped soil type. There were also 3 large trees just to the west of the proposed house that are proposed to be removed. they appear to be outside the limit of grading, and was just wondering why those are needed to be removed. The applicant had requested that a planting plan be approved after an approval. I would recommend that planting plan be approved prior to the commission closing on the hearing. I did have a chance to go out and look at the site and the wetland delineation. The delineation, the BVW delineation along the stream to the south looked pretty good. I just thought that in one location between flags 1 and 2, that the wetland bumped up gradient maybe 4 or 5 feet based on the soil and vegetation and saturation that I observed. I think the site's entirely in the buffer zone anyway, so I don't think it impacts too much with the buffer zone, except maybe some of the 25-foot and 50-foot numbers. Also, just so the commission is aware that the lawn is present up to the retaining wall, right down to the lake. I did poke around with the auger a little bit in the lawn above the retaining wall, and there is hydric soil in that area. One auger I did was approximately 24 feet up gradient and still was hydric. So I would recommend that maybe the applicant have their consultant go out and take a look at the limit of hydric soil. Vegetation could not be assessed at this point due to it being mowed and the time of year, but would recommend some additional information on the extent of hydric soil in the lawn. It appears to come up quite far. The data sheets had a number of errors that would recommend they be corrected for the record. Let's see. I think the tree line had previously been shown on the site plan. I think the revision removed the tree line. I recommend that it stay on the plan. And there was just, I think, one other item. There was a note on the plan about the compost sock being left in place to degrade, and just that should be changed to being removed after the site is stabilized and approved by the Conservation Commission. And I think that pretty much covers my comments.
Okay, thanks, Joe. I certainly agree that the commission always expects the planting plan to be part of the application for our review and approval. So in my mind, that one's not really a question. But I'll turn it over to the applicant or the engineer if you want to speak to any of Joe's comments at this point or discuss them with the commission.
Yes, Stephen Balsvich here on behalf of Land Planning, Inc., representing the owner and applicant. So a few things. One is the tree line. That's shown as small dotted lines. When I submitted the plans, there was an issue with the plotting of that line. So there's dotted small dots that were the tree line. They just did not produce when we plotted it. So you can see them if you really zoom in. Subsequent revisions, I'll make sure that that's actually plotting appropriately. Regarding, I believe the representative for the commission had a question regarding the compost sock. I misunderstood a substitution, and I can add the silt fence on the down gradient side of the compost sock so that it basically have the 2 barriers along the perimeter of the project. There was another question regarding the straw wattle. We needed to provide a stockpile area, and because constant access to that area would be necessary throughout construction, we felt that, moving a compost sock back and forth, it may not remain for the full duration of the project. So the compost sock is strictly for the perimeter of the stockpile area. All other sediment barrier will be mulch, compost sock, and as I said, silt barrier. There was a question regarding the infiltration sizing. At this time, it's sized to infiltrate 1 inch of runoff from the driveway and roof area as shown. As I mentioned, these are preliminary floor plans, and I can add the calculations that demonstrate we've provided adequate storage volume in the infiltration chamber systems. I believe there was another comment regarding the medallions. I can add a note that they're to remain in place perpetually. Right now, we're proposing them to be fixed to the tree line along the southerly bordering vegetated wetland. I believe commonly the PIB along the lake will be represented by the wall, so we do not have any medallions proposed there. Regarding the 3 trees west of the proposed dwelling, one of the trees is a pine tree, and it's significant in size. And with the new construction, the applicant felt that for safety reasons, they would like to have that removed. As previously mentioned, we're gonna meet the required 2-to-1 replacement of that tree. The northerly oak tree is adjacent to the infiltration chamber, and we feel that it should be removed just so we don't disturb the root system and the tree ends up not surviving the construction of that infiltration unit. Again, we're going to provide a planting of 2-to-1 for that removed tree. The southerly oak, they'd like to remove that and basically put 2-to-1. I've discussed planting with the applicant, and I understand you would prefer to have a planting plan prior to approval. Would the commission be accepting of basically identifying areas of plantings and not necessarily having proposed species at this time? I direct that to the chair.
I would say that the commission has always required planting plan, including the type of plants, number of plants, in addition to, the planting areas. So I would want to see that. I wouldn't want to waive that. Especially because, as we spoke in the previous, or one of the previous discussions, the filter strip that we're encouraging along the edge of Lake Maspinock is something that we're looking for applicants to get on board with and install, particularly in that location, and making sure that functions well. So I'd say it's a requirement. If anyone else has another opinion, they can jump in.
Through the chair, this is Ed. I merely would like to know, these 2 oak trees, of what variety are they?
I can get that. I believe they're white, but I will verify that for the next meeting.
Yeah, a white oak tree is a significant tree. It's a significant tree for critters, etc., etc., etc. So I have a bigger issue than I might otherwise, and I would certainly suggest that if we are going to allow them to be taken down, they would be replaced like with like.
Through the chair.
Yes, Ted.
I was just going to add to I agree with what Ed was saying about the trees. I have hesitation on the tree removal, but about the plantings, I think when we have had work on a property that is fixing a retaining wall, we've had more leniency on the locations of the plantings, but this is essentially a new construction that's being proposed. And on occasion, and I'll ask Judy to do it now so that maybe Stephen can work it into his plans for our next meeting. Judy, could you show the ideal filter strip planting, the kind that protects the entire shoreline? because I would certainly be looking for that level of protection of the shoreline on a project of this scope where the entire structure is being taken down. And I agree with you, Melissa, that the type of planting we've always asked for, especially on lakefront property. So what I like to point out in these pictures is there's never a straight line access for runoff into the lake, that all of it is protected, and that the human access is on really attractively curving walkway, not a straight line of lawn or path right into the lake. So on this property, when the planting plan is put together, I'd be looking for something along those lines as far as level of protection of the lake.
Understood.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would also echo what Ed said about, when we usually look for 2-to-1 replacement for trees, those are your typical smaller trees. When we have these high value, large, I mean, I think when I was looking at the plan, we're talking like 24, 26-inch diameter trees. They're significant, and I would want to see more than just 2-to-1 replacement, some additional mitigation. But first off, would like to see the trees protected and kept if possible.
Melissa,
Yes.
isn't it true that if someone is proposing tree removal within our jurisdiction, we ask for a certified arborist to tell us about the health of the tree?
We do.
So I guess from the short description we got from you, Stephen, I don't have a sense that any of the trees are in a dangerous health condition right now, which is another reason I would not lean towards allowing removal. What I think we don't want to establish as a precedent, or continue if it once was a precedent, is allowing tree removal just for a pretty view of the lake. That to me is not what our job is here on the Conservation Commission.
Okay. As far as the tree located near the infiltration system, we're kind of tough on keeping that 50 feet outside of the buffer zone. So where we're doing a trade-off in that instance, infiltration for the roof and impervious area, is that a sufficient reason to remove that tree? Its proximity to recharge supply, surface water, I should say.
I think it's something that we would need to balance, but I think we would want to know what alternative locations or considerations have been made. Does that infiltration system have to be right there close to the roots? How much will it actually impact the roots? Are we just speculating that it might impact the tree, or are we really sure that it's going to kill this tree? I don't know that I would take down a tree because I think it might have a chance of not surviving. I'd like to give it better odds than that, but
Through the chair,
we'd have to be convinced, I think. Go ahead, Ed.
this would be another question for the arborist.
Yeah.
And I will tell you that we had a maple tree that was very close to our septic system. It was a very happy maple tree.
Yeah. Okay. I did have another question. You talked about the medallions along the wetland tree line, page south. Are they actually shown on the plan where they would be?
Yeah, I believe there's a symbol showing I used a sign symbol just so it would stand out. But that southerly boundary is 90 feet long. So we placed approximately every 30 feet a medallion. So there's 3 medallions along the southerly boundary line.
I see it now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Melissa, can I just offer one other thought?
Yes.
And it may be contingent on where the tree discussion goes. If the trees are not going to be removed, I think the limit of work line might need to be reconsidered. So that's maybe 2 steps away because we have to address whether the trees are being removed or not. But then just listening and hearing myself about plantings along the waterfront, this is a question for commission members, I think more, is the limit of work, in my mind, that's heavy machinery type work. If there's plantings being done, clearly there would be work outside that limit of work line. But am I understanding that correctly?
I think you're right, Ted, because we would want erosion controls down there if we're exposing the soils and planting things. So yeah, I think that needs to be, it probably needs to be tweaked depending on what happens with the next submittal. And
Okay.
how
Through the chair.
comments are addressed. Go ahead, Anna.
So my concern would be if you move the limit of work erosion controls like right to the lake edge, then there's a lot more chance that of them getting, if there is an issue or a breach of it getting right into the lake. So I would almost suggest kind of, 2 sets, that they have the main construction one, but then when they go to do the plantings, depending on the timing, that there's additional ones along the lake would be my suggestion.
Okay.
That feels right to me too, because while I would want some work up next to the lake, if we move that big heavy dotted line right to the lake edge, that gives bulldozers permission to go right up to the lake edge as well. And I don't think we want that. We've seen that kind of clearing on lots in other places, and it usually doesn't work out well. So maybe 2 layers of, I don't know the standard way of presenting that on these plans, but and if the trees are to stay, I would say that limit of work needs to get even closer to the house. But like I started with, that maybe is the discussion 2 steps away.
Yeah.
If I may just ask a question. So I briefly spoke with the applicant regarding the plantings, and I understand it is the commission's preference to plant along the retaining wall, the waterfront. I just wanted to point out that this area is also within the flood zone. Does the commission, how does the commission feel about that level of work? Because based off of that sketch, there seemed to be a significant demand, I should say, for planting down there as far as square footage, and that results in disturbance in that floodplain.
Yeah, we've never had an issue with that. I mean, all the houses along the lake have that same situation. We've never you're not permanently filling or something like that. So,
Okay.
Joe, do you have anything to add there? Joe Orzel?
No, I think that's correct. I mean, as long as you're not filling the floodplain, planting is fine. No issues.
Hi, this is Alan and Chris Ann here, owners of the property. We just had a couple questions for you guys, if now's an appropriate time to pipe in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so I think Alan wanted to ask something or mention something about the pine, and then I wanted to mention something about the plantings we intend to do.
Yeah, so the pine tree that we're talking about, those 3 trees in front, the pine dropped significant limbs this winter, and we're concerned about safety with that tree specifically. We don't want things falling on the house and things like that. So that's our concern with that one specifically. And then
in terms of, so, I mean, I want to preface this with, I think I mentioned in the last meeting that we're both very eco-conscious and want to do the right thing for the land and the lake. And my family's lived here for forever. So, we're not just trying to do aesthetically pleasing things by taking down the trees. If we did that, we would definitely be willing to work with you guys on even like a 3-to-1 planting or a different kind of species that would have the same kind of erosion control and filtration of elsewhere on the property maybe. So I don't know if that's a discussion you're willing to have. And we do for sure intend on doing plantings along the waterfront. So that's not something we are gonna like push back on. And also along the wetland boundary with our neighbors there to the, I don't know, to the southerly side of the lot. With that said too, I remember last meeting we were talking about how you thought that you guys were okay with us proposing this box rather than our final plans, because our final plans would be within that box that we're proposing here for our house. We're in the middle of working with an architect right now to figure out what those like final floor plans are going to be. So I guess my question is, we feel like it's a bit premature to hire a landscape architect when we don't actually have like the floor plan and the dimensions of our house, even though it's going to be within that box. So I'm just not sure how that's going to affect how this moves forward within your committee, because I mean, we could give updated plans on like the plantings along the waterfront and along the wetland boundary, but in terms of the plantings that we would do like around the house itself, like it wouldn't be realistic if we were to give you a plan around this box. So I'm not sure. I know those are like 3 different things that I just addressed, but if you guys could kind of give your feedback on that, it'd be great.
Yeah, sure. I guess to start with the first one, I think the commission certainly understands the pine tree factor and we're more amenable to taking those down, realizing that, you know, they pose hazards. So I understand that. The other 2 trees, there's, I think, significant habitat and value to an old tree, or, you know, that you just don't get back planting 3 smaller trees. So that's why we hesitate more to take down, you know, a significant tree that's been there, to get all the benefits back from that tree, the canopy, you know, the heat, the carbon footprint benefit, all those things. You know, it'll take years and years and years and years for a a sapling tree to be planted and kind of to make up for that. So that's kind of what we're factoring in with tree replacement numbers. What else do we have? We had the building, so the size of the footprint and the landscape plan. I think what the commission is most concerned about is the area along the water, planting that out, which, you know, is mitigation for putting the house in and all the development that's going on and other trees coming down and things like that. I mean, personally, I don't think we're that worried about plantings that go right around the edge of the house, you know, kind of those landscapey, mulched planting beds. Those would be more of like a minor modification or an insignificant change if you were to modify that down the road or to add them later, in my mind. Judy, if you have another thought, or someone on the commission, I think as far as, you know, plantings that are right up against the house and around the footprint, I don't even know if we see those come back to us typically.
Through the chair, I agree with what you're saying. I guess the only thing is we're always looking for native species everywhere.
Right.
I think you're right. I think we often don't see in the plans the shrubbery or the flowers or the tulips that are going to be lining the walkway up to the street and stuff like that, unless it's a walkway to the beach. That's a different deal.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't think you need to spend time and effort worrying about a landscape architect around the building and in those type of details. We're more focused on the more, significant resource area, habitat, components of it. Was that everything, or was there another item?
That was everything. Thank you. I did have a follow-up comment or question on that. Well, one thing was we are intending on doing like almost all native species. Like we want to do kind of like a native like meadow kind of look around the house as well. So I didn't know if we're using a lot of native species that are on that list anyway, if they would count towards some of the replantings. But again, if they're right up against the house, like that's good to know. We don't have to necessarily provide that in order to move forward in a committee. Like we could provide, elsewhere on the property where our plantings are going to go. And then, my other question, if we propose something and say it gets through the committee, it passes, and then we decide at a later point, like, oh, we really want to swap out this tree for that tree or this shrub for that shrub that's on the approved planting list, will we come back through you guys again, or is that something that's more administrative?
I think typically that's more administrative, and you would just work with Judy on that. Judy, do you want to add anything there?
Yeah, I think that sounds good. And if the commission is comfortable with it, usually I just look at similar types of plantings if they're swapping out a tree, looking at another tree, and then I check everything for native to the county.
Yeah.
Thanks. Thank you.
Yep.
Melissa, before, I feel like we're moving close to a vote to continue, but looking at my notes, I've now highlighted it in green so I didn't forget. I had one more question that I think maybe Joe or Zell might be able to help with.
Yep.
I believe as part of the plan, we get a net change of impervious surface as part of the plan. But if I remember our discussion 2 weeks ago, the bocce court was counted as impervious. And that seems dubious to me. I don't think it will change much as far as a vote for approval or not, but I would love to have the numbers correct. Joe or Zell, do you have thoughts on the bocce court being counted as impervious?
It's a pretty fine crushed stone. So I think it's probably somewhat pervious, but I think it's not very pervious.
That's a new category. Impervious, not very pervious. Pervious.
It's going to infiltrate, I think, to some extent slowly. But typically with a fine crushed stone like that, it's typically considered impervious.
Okay, if you're comfortable with that, then so am I.
Through the chair, this is Ed. Ted, there's a bocce court behind the senior center. You could stop by there on a really wet day and see what you got.
Well, I have seen bocce courts and I've seen the water kind of disappear. But again, if Joe is comfortable with that being counted as impervious, then that's why we're paying him.
Okay.
And through the chair, this is Ed. One last comment. There's a great book by Doug Tallamy about white oak trees. I suggest it's a good reading book.
Thanks, Ed. Okay. So our next, I lost my agenda. Our next hearing is April 7th, and then after that is April 28th. So my question would be, do you want to continue this out to the 7th? Does that give enough time to address comments, or would you like to continue to the 28th?
If possible, I'd like to continue to the 7th, being that you want the planting plan, and have to work with the applicant to see how far we get with that. So we'll go for the 7th, but possibly continuing before the meeting.
Okay. Can I get a motion then to continue this out to our next meeting, April 7th?
Melissa, I'll make that motion in a moment. I just want to remind the applicant that if you are going to try to make this 7th, we're going to need the paperwork Thursday or Friday before that meeting, so we have time to look at it. So I'm certainly open to saying, oh my gosh, it's Thursday and we're not there yet, and asking for a continuance then. But if we get the paperwork on Monday or Tuesday, that's not going to give the commission time to really look it over, particularly with the extensive changes that we're talking about tonight.
Understood. And we've kind of gone over various areas of where we're going to be proposing. It's just a matter of getting the species locked down.
Okay.
So we do intend on giving you plenty of time to see it prior to the meeting and continuing it as needed.
Great.
So yes.
Great. With that, I would like to make that motion. Melissa.
This is Ed. I'll do the second.
All in favor, Ed,
Aye.
Peggy,
Aye.
Ted,
Ted is an aye.
and I am also an aye. All right. So thank you all.
Thank you.
All right, now we're jumping back down to 10 Exchange Street. And I think I saw Padma's here. Okay, great. So Judy has drafted up the enforcement order, and Joe, I saw you were able to take a look at that species plan, invasive species plan, and provide us some comments. Do you just want to speak about those for a minute?
Sure. I looked over the proposal for the invasive species plan, and I thought it was pretty comprehensive and appropriate for the site. I had also submitted some comments on possibly some of the aspects of invasive management that the property owner could maybe take on themselves if they chose to. And that would include, I think, as I mentioned at the last meeting, any kind of mechanical removal, hand pulling, using a weed wrench, digging by hand, of any of the invasives anywhere on the site could be undertaken by the property owner. As far as herbicide application within the wetlands, that should be done by a licensed herbicide applicator, not by the homeowner. Outside of the wetlands and the buffer zone, the homeowner could apply herbicides. I would recommend that it would only be cutting and painting on the woody species, or possibly an herbicide glove for foliar application. I would not recommend foliar spray application because of the potential for drift onto the species that you're planting and the ones that you want to save. Obviously, the homeowner would need to follow all the manufacturer's directions and dispose of cut or pulled invasive plant material appropriately, and need to learn to recognize the invasive species. Potentially, the homeowner may want to discuss with their consultant doing the work as far as how they might be able to work together to determine what could be done by the homeowner. And I also would recommend that either the commission staff or someone from LE meet with the homeowner on site prior to any of the invasive treatment work that they may undertake. But I think a fair amount of that could be undertaken by the property owner, and I don't know, it's up to their contractor how much of a reduction that might be, but that might help with the overall cost of the program.
Okay. I'll ask Padma, seeing these comments from Joe and what you might be able to do yourself. Do you have any questions?
No, this is great. Thank you so much for providing this this kind of setup. Because what happened is when we were like removing the wood chips, we were proposed that to charge like 4 times to the price that what a machinery would do. But after doing the work, I'm still fighting with that person. He comes back and asking me like close to 10 times because they have to do manually. So if these kind of challenges, because there are multiple things that need to be done on the property, if the contractors are coming back and posing these challenges, so I cannot hire them and like kind of pay them for these kind of a thing. So this is very helpful. And I really appreciate that, and I will work on that accordingly, like what has been proposed. So yeah, thank you for that.
Okay, good. So Judy, I saw that in the enforcement order, you incorporated most of these things as conditions.
Yep. Yeah, hoping to get Commission and Joe's feedback on how I included his comments. So most of this is the same as what the Commission's already seen for this enforcement order. And then where I included a condition about professional versus homeowner, it's new. I haven't written one like this before. So instead of kind of listing out what the homeowner could do, I thought it was easier to say what a professional needs to do.
Yeah.
So I said management of Japanese knotweed, including treatment and disposal, and then application of herbicides within wetland resource areas. One thing Joe mentioned that might be good to add is I didn't include a restriction on foliar spray by the landowner, so I can add something to that extent that if they're going to be applying herbicides themselves, it has to be cut and paint or glove or something that isn't spraying.
Okay, that would be regardless of whether it's the homeowner or the contractor. Would that be the case for both? Because it's how it affects the plants.
Through the chair,
Yes.
I believe the proposal from the contractor did say that they would not be using foliar spray.
Okay.
So I can just do a general condition, just confirming that no foliar spray either way.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I did read through, and I think they look good. One of the questions I had was we had talked at one point about whether the plantings could happen at the same time as invasive species or not, or if some could and some couldn't. I don't know if that's addressed in here, but I know that it says we had 2 growing season monitoring after the plantings. And if there's variation in when things are planted, is that going to be an issue for that monitoring requirement? Does that make sense what I just said? I don't know if I said that the best way.
Yeah, through the chair, that makes sense. So if that area with the really dense knotweed, if they're not able to get plantings in there until like next year or even later, if that would kind of set its own timeline, I can maybe play with some language around within 2 growing seasons after like the conclusion of all plantings or something like that. Unless you want the monitoring to start immediately.
I'm not sure what I'd want or what would be best. I just don't know if it'll get confusing when we're trying to enforce it later or, collect reports. So I was just trying to avoid confusion down the road. I don't know. Have you ever seen this situation, Joe? Where you have like
yeah, not specifically that I recall, but I think Judy's idea of stating 2 growing seasons after the conclusion of planting might be the easiest way to address it.
Okay.
And I
Okay.
think we can still ask for those interim reports. So growing season report starting from the first plantings, but then through 2 growing seasons following, all plantings being installed.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm like verbalizing that right, but like we don't not want to get any reports until they're all in.
Right. Yeah, no, okay. I think we're on the same page.
Yeah.
All right. And then my other question, the condition to coordinate a site visit with staff prior to treatment. Is that just like, is the intention to have a site visit the first time before you start any treatment? Or like anytime a new treatment is started, or what if we have a different homeowner, or what if, there's kind of, this is happening over an extended period of time. So I wasn't sure if the intention was just like one to kick it all off, or one anytime something was being done.
Yeah, I think I had written that in per one of Joe's comments. And I think he was intending if the homeowner is going to be applying herbicides or doing like a large scale pull or something like that, having someone out there to make sure they're pulling the right species, if that sounds like what you were getting at, Joe.
Yes, that was the intent of that comment.
Yeah, so maybe like I don't have to go out there every single time. But if you're have a plan for, this spring, I'm going to focus on this area, Padma, I'm happy to come out and just confirm you're looking at the right things.
Yeah, I definitely need help identifying the species, and I'm also curious because I also don't want to damage those species to damage any of the construction. I eventually at some point I plan to do, at least for now. So maybe Judy, you can help me identify those species. Oh, that would be awesome. So I'm heading back to Massachusetts by tomorrow, so I'll be there on Thursday. So I think going forward, that's because this property needs I can't rely on I can't afford that. So I'll be working closely with you during the weekends and as the weather gets better. So first I will identify the species, and then I may take some help with my the person who does my my leaves and all. He's a reasonable guy. He cannot give. He's not licensed, I think, so he cannot give those kind of written things. But I am planning to take his help and some of it myself. That's at least the hope for now. So he gives reasonable quotes. So yeah,
through the chair.
Yes.
Yeah, just to make sure the homeowner is aware, if anyone, if you're paying anyone to do any of the herbicide applications, they need to be licensed. So if you're doing it yourself, you can do those things on your property that are outlined in the my email. But anyone that you're paying, if they're charging you or receiving payment for doing the herbicide application, they need to be licensed.
Okay, then we definitely we will do it. We will learn and do it ourselves. Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for that. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions or comments?
Melissa?
Yes, Dave.
I just have a question on the disposal.
Yep.
Item number 26 of the enforcement order indicates that a professional does the disposal. Item number 5 on Joe's review indicates that the homeowner can do disposal. Are they both right?
I think 26 is specific to the knotweed. Is that right,
Yeah.
Joe?
Yeah.
It looks that way. Yeah, I think with regard to knotweed, that should be disposed of by the professional, all the treatment for the knotweed. With regard to any of the woody plants that the homeowner may cut, they can certainly do some kind of disposal themselves as long as it's appropriate. And there's certainly information online that you can look up as far as appropriate disposal for cut invasive stems.
Thank you. Yep.
Okay. Judy, do you, based on those couple comments, could we vote on this, or do you need to, do you need time to update and review with us again?
I think that's up to you guys. I can run through the notes that I was going to add to the enforcement order. So if you'd like to see it again before it's issued, we can have it on the next agenda, or if you're happy with the list I have and me just working on that and issuing it in the meantime, up to your comfort level.
Okay, yeah, why don't you go through the list and then we can decide.
Yep, so I was going to add a condition for no foliar spray of herbicides by either homeowners or contractors. Figure out wording around a condition to start monitoring reports after the first plantings go in and through 2 growing seasons following the final plantings going in. And clarifying the site visit condition to be specific to homeowner work and maybe like once or twice per growing season prior to major invasives removal.
Okay. Yeah, I think you got it. I'm comfortable voting. Does anyone else?
I just have one question on that. What I'm sorry, I mean, I did not hear. What is that folic spray should not be for? I don't understand that. What is that like? Can you please explain? Or maybe I can do it later, maybe with you, Judy.
Yeah, through the chair.
Go ahead, Judy.
So foliar spray, it's like a technique to spray herbicides. It just kind of goes out in a cloud almost. It's not like a targeted directed application, so it's a little bit more room for error with contamination. You would be asked to either yourself or a professional do direct application, so cut the stem and then paint the herbicide directly onto the cut stem, or like Joe said, a glove application method. So, we just don't want to see anyone out there with a bag sprayer just spraying herbicides everywhere into the air, and it's not great for human health or environmental health.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Can I get a motion to issue this enforcement order with the additional conditions and edits Judy just listed out?
This is Ed. I'll make that motion.
And signature by Judy or Anna.
Make that too.
I'll second that.
All right. All in favor? Ed?
Aye.
Peggy?
Aye.
Ted?
Ted is an aye.
And I myself am also an aye. All right. Thank you, Padma. And
Thank you very much.
yep, thanks, Dave. All right. Next up, we have 150 Fruit Street. This is a violation discussion. So let you take the lead on this one, Judy.
Sure. Through the chair, I'll pull up the approved plans to kind of give a picture of what I'm discussing. So we were doing routine construction monitoring last week, Monday and Tuesday, after the major rainstorm we had. And we observed sediment and turbid stormwater tracking beyond the limit of work and into the small isolated vegetated wetland behind 150 Fruit Street. This was an order of conditions issued for single-family home construction. It was late 2025, the order of conditions was issued. house is pretty much up, but the ground and area around the house is pretty unstable, and there's a large unstabilized stockpile roughly in this location. So site in serious need of stabilization. It looked like the erosion controls hadn't been refreshed since they were installed maybe a year or so ago. So I did recommend that the owner stabilize the site and the stockpile, refresh the erosion controls, and then come to the commission tonight with a short and long-term plan to prevent additional releases. The other thing we noticed when we were out there is a pretty large pool of standing water in an area not labeled as resource area on the plans. So roughly in the location of the 180 contour behind the house here. I asked Joe to look back at his notes. I think him and Goddard had gone back and forth on whether this was resource area. So it being vernal pool season, I was a little concerned. Maybe it was missed as their site visit was in September. But it sounds like Joe doesn't think this is potential vernal pool habitat due to potentially the amount of time that water would be pooled here. So I can turn it over to him for more details on that. But I just wanted to mention there was a pretty dirty pile of water in this area. So I don't know how it was getting dirty, if it was coming directly off the site. It didn't really look like it, but there's also 2 mystery pipes between that area and the IVW that nobody ever figured out where they went. So just mentioning that there was dirty water back here, as well as in the IVW and the buffer zone here. So that's all I had. I have some pictures as well, but I would turn it back over to you, Melissa.
Okay. Sure, we can look at the pictures, and I guess I'll ask Joe if you have anything to add.
No, I think Judy covered it. I did, like Judy said, look at my notes and my photos, and I recall the area completely. I think based on the soil that we observed out there, I suspect that what we're looking at for ponding right now is pretty ephemeral, because the soils did not reflect any kind of long-term ponding in this area. So I think that it's very unlikely that that functions as any vernal pool habitat, just based on the soils that we observed in that area.
Okay, thanks. Great. So have the erosion controls been addressed at this point in time? I guess I'll ask if we have someone on the line.
Yes. Are you hearing me?
Oh, yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, I was after Julie stopped by, I was take a look and keep an eye on it. Today, this morning, after the rain, I was go down, walk all the way around, take a lot of pictures, and I showed Judy the water is crystal clean now. What I find yesterday when I walk around, I saw a lot of footprints, deers and animal waste. I don't know if they walk around, try to drink water, and then Judy shows up after. Because since I was down today, I have a lot of pictures show Judy. It's the water crystal clean. And also explain her, because we have unspec'd water snow this year. My plan is, I already talked to my landscaping guy, and we have water yesterday. The ground is considered very wet now. My plan is wait to dry this week. My team, my landscape team, we can start work on Monday or Tuesday next week. If the ground drains, we can level up and do spread the loam and hydro seed, because everything on the back of the house is done. The house is pretty much done. The only thing hold us is the landscaping, because we have a lot of snow and delayed us a lot. So, but we're ready to finish the landscaping, especially on a back part of the house. The big pile is the loom we pile last year, and during the spring it's a grow vegetation is growing at, but on the winter all the vegetations die. But that's a loom, screen loom. We can, as soon as the soil a little dry, we can spread that and do the hydroseed. I think that's the best solution. Get the hydroseed, I'll say in about a week and a half from now, have everything hydroseed, and hope that grows quicker and stabilize the soil.
Okay. And just to back up just a minute, can you just introduce yourself? Are you the contractor?
Oh, no, sorry. I'm
That's okay.
Wagner, the homeowner.
The homeowner. Okay.
Also.
Gotcha. Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. So are there erosion controls currently up at the limits of work and where you're going to be putting down the loam?
Yes, I check out the erosion control if there's any gap or anything between them. I don't see any gaps or any cuts or anything today. But it's still a lot of water. I don't want to walk around to make more mess. Today is a sunny day. It's like less have little snow in the morning, but it's sunny day today. I hope tomorrow you get the same. I'll double check everything, and I hope we get better weather for maybe a week and a half. My landscaping guy said, if we don't have big rain in, I'll say like a week and a half, we can go with the machines and get it done and do the spread the grass. And also I told Judy, I don't mind spend a little more and at least on the back of the house, if it's necessary, I can put how do you call the grass, the whole roll of grass and roll and get it that stabilized at least like 4 or 5 feet around the erosion control area.
Oh, like sod.
Sod, yes.
Sod. Yeah. Okay.
About 2,000 square feet or whatever, and then level up, spread the loom, and at least on the edge where the water, like I think the roll came 3 by 3 feet by 2 feet wide. So if we put it on we can put it like 6 feet from the edge up. I think that can help a lot to stabilize around the erosion control.
Yeah, no, that does sound like a good idea to me. Being spring in New England, I feel like hoping for a week of dry weather, like you just never know what you're gonna get. And
yeah,
hopefully it does happen, but I could also see going, the next month without actually getting, a good dry week to dry that out and be able to work there. And even once the sod's down, you still got to worry about that washing out too. So I think we need to see some more erosion control measures so that we don't get more sediment breaching those erosion controls. I know you're so close and it's a lot of work, especially when you're looking at, putting down seed so soon, but the spring season is just so unpredictable. Do you have any additional suggestions or anyone else on the commission for interim measures?
Yeah, through the chair. One thought I had is there's straw wattles out there right now, which is what was spec'd and approved. But I think what we've seen is the mulch or the compost socks are a lot more effective. They're a lot heavier and seem to do a better job of filtering water. So maybe just adding another layer of mulch sock or compost sock.
Through the chair.
Yeah.
Yes, Ted.
I spent a lot of time listening to the last, back in November and October 2024 when this application came up. And a big part of the discussion for multiple nights was where PIBs would be. And part of the PIBs we were looking for was a split rail fence or some other fence. I bring this up to say we have had plenty of projects where hydro seeding has gone far beyond where the PIBs were placed, and then lawn just grows beyond the PIB. So a hesitation I have with Mr. Braga's plan is that whether it's sod or hydro seeding, without the PIBs established, unless they are exactly on where the limit of work erosion controls are supposed to be, that we could have lawn beyond where we've stipulated PIBs.
Yeah.
Yeah, Judy, can you pull up the plan so we can see how that matches up, the PIB with the ECB? So right now there is there grass area between the erosion control barrier and that tree line where the PIB is shown? There's existing meadow and
I mean, is the grass behind the water and the fence is behind that? It's a grass all the way around.
Grass.
Yeah.
So it's getting, so somehow there's a breach somewhere in the erosion controls. Judy, I don't know if you noticed when you were out there, if there was a specific like weak point in the erosion controls right now, or just, you know, it was coming from all over.
Yeah, it seemed like it was, so this picture kind of shows the worst of it. So roughly from maybe like the end of the snow here, all the way up and around this tree. So that's this tree right here. So this corner, and there is like an extra layer that they put out of wattle here, but that's the one that's kind of underwater in one of my pictures. This one here.
Yeah, that's not doing much.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's definitely around here and getting in towards the wetland.
Okay. Yep, and that is the closest point with not much between it. So my thought is that we need to see some more significant erosion control barrier, especially around that corner where it's obviously ponding and water's getting directly into the wetland.
Okay, you suggesting like put a second bearing inside the property nearby. So instead of have one bearing, they have two bearings now. I can do
Yeah,
that.
well, I mean, and like Judy said, if the one that's there right now is not functioning well because it's straw, and sometimes if it's been there all year, those get like smashed down or they lift up, the water can just kind of like make them float kind of. You could replace it with something heavier and more substantial, like the what did you call it, Judy? I'm blanking on the word.
Like mulch or compost sock.
Mulch. There you go. Yeah.
Okay. I can work on it.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's probably what needs, I think that's what needs to happen.
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll
Okay.
get that done as soon as possible. I check tomorrow around if I can bought that stuff, and I'll stop by probably on the town hall if I have any question and talk to Judy about it to make sure we're on the same page.
Yeah, that'd be great. Judy can definitely help advise.
Just a heads up, I will be out this Thursday and Friday, so also include Anna in any emails or updates. She'll be here.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. Does anyone have anything else to add?
The chair,
Yes, Ed.
Ed, do we need to have a date certain for this work to be done?
Yes, that is a good suggestion. Do you think you can get this done by the end of the week?
I can try to get out if I find the material and all that. I can get it done. Yeah.
Okay. Does that sound reasonable, Ed?
That would make me happy if it's done by the end of the week.
Okay. I think that's reasonable.
You want me, Judy? Question for Judy. You want me to get done where there's no point into the like a little bit behind the tree, so that area or.
So I think what the commission was saying is they want it to be inside the limit of work.
Yes.
So put that mulch sock either along or in place of the straw wattle that's already there. So not necessarily adding anything beyond. It shouldn't be getting past that silt fence dirty anyway. So keeping it in the limit of work footprint.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you for coming in and for taking care of that. And we will hope for dry weather for you.
Yeah, me too.
For all of us. Yep.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we need the rain for our drought conditions, though, Melissa.
We do, but
if there's a way the rain can avoid Mr. Braga's yard but fill our wells, that would be fantastic.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys.
Yeah, no problem. Okay.
Thank you.
Moving on to conservation minute. Judy, we were talking about regulations lately. One of the things I wanted to ask everyone, if we could think about, we have the regulations drafted by Judy. She's looking for comments. We did get a quote. I don't know if anybody got a chance to look at it from Lucas for them to also give a review of our regulations and provide any comments that they might have. Can you pop that up on the screen, Judy?
Sorry, yeah, I'm pulling it up.
Okay.
There we go. Oh, and someone is drawing on the screen. I still don't know how to turn that off. Okay, it's gone.
All right, so here's the quote from Lucas. Judy did look into our account and we have $18,000, is that right?
Yep, a little over 18,000
in our spending account. So we do have enough, more than enough to cover the scope of services. I think it's probably a worthwhile investment in use of funds while we're doing the regulation revamp anyway, but I'm opening it up to the group here for any thoughts on that.
I'm all in favor of spending, I think, 11% of our funds to get professional feedback on updates.
Yeah.
Is that math right? 1/9? I don't know. I think 1/8 is 12.
Maybe like 10%. Yeah. Okay. In order to spend the funds, we do need to take a vote.
Through the chair.
Yes, Judy.
I think you'd also asked me to reach out to Chris Lucas about their timeline.
Oh, that's right, I did.
So he said max 2 weeks between authorizing them to begin their review and getting comments for the commission. But they said they can be quicker if needed. So depending on when the commission is aiming to have a final version ready for a public hearing, it would probably be 1 to 2 weeks for the Lucas review.
Okay. I think that's very reasonable because I think our, as a commission, we still need to review it ourselves. So 2 weeks is certainly acceptable to me.
Agreed.
Okay. Can I get a motion to accept this proposal and fund it through our, is it just called the conservation account or what do we call that account, Judy?
The 53.5, just the where we put local filing fees.
Okay. I don't know how they come up with that name.
It's a funny name. Actually, my son Alex, our second choice was 53.5, but
sure what somebody said no.
Yeah. I had an uncle said, yeah, I don't recommend that one. So Alex.
Can I get a motion to that effect?
I'll make that motion. Oh, I'll second Ed's motion.
All right. All in favor? Ed?
Aye.
Peggy?
Aye.
Ted?
Ted is an aye.
And I'm also an aye.
Melissa?
Yes.
Before we wrap up, I will admit that I'm the guy that drew the box there because I think that's a newer Zoom feature that I hadn't noticed before. Judy, were you able to get rid of it? Because I was trying to erase it and I couldn't.
I don't know who got rid of it. It might have been Anna.
Because here's the reason I bring that up. We've had plenty of meetings, and I know Ed would like to meet in person every time. And I like the Zoom meeting, but the hard part sometimes is trying to get Anna or whomever it is with the cursor to go to the part of a plan that we're talking about. But if I have a tool that it can allow me to say, if you look here, it could speed that part of the meeting up, but then I couldn't get rid of that mark a second ago. I hit the eraser and maybe I did erase it.
Did it? Yeah.
Anyway, it may be a helpful feature if we don't have our whole commission here, but there's a green pencil over there in the corner and that gives you a chance to write, and apparently everybody can see it, which was part of my test earlier.
So
that could be helpful to us in meetings. So if you click on it, you get a toolbar, and then click on the pencil, and you should be able to circle.
Oh, you can highlight too.
Yeah.
Oh.
And that might be, as long as we don't go crazy, and as long as applicants don't know about it, it might be helpful for some of when we're trying to look at a specific section of a plan.
What's funny is I was watching you all do it and it was popping up with your name. So if you pay attention enough, it actually shows.
Oh, is that true?
Who's doing it at the time, but then it goes away. So like you can't go back and click on it. But we did have a couple of applicants doing it, I think on Petrosi's plate. We were all like, oh my God, what's going on?
Some scribblings, and I'm not sure where that was coming from, but anyway, it may cause more chaos than we want, but it struck me that might be helpful for some of our discussions.
I am seeing I have the ability to delete your scribbles. So if we do run into issues, I think as hosts and co-hosts, we can delete stuff. So yeah, feel free to scribble away.
Awesome. That may be a helpful thing.
Okay. Good find, Ted. I like that. You learn something new every day.
Conservation Minute.
Conservation Minute. That's what it's here for.
It looks like there's a back button option because I kind of scribbled and then I hit that and it disappeared. So I don't know if I'm the one who deleted my scribbles or somebody else did, but I don't know if that gets rid of the markings or not.
Oh yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, undo. It's like an undo.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, Timer Ted's going to start his countdown, writing on it. You're almost done. Time's up. Come on.
All right. Anyway, it might be something worth keeping in mind that I experimented with.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think that could definitely be useful. All right. So then
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
do you want to adjourn, or do you want to, or do we want to set a
We can do that.
date for when? I mean, since Lucas is going to review our regulations now in 2 weeks.
Yeah. Look what
Well,
I
we don't have all our members here either to ask this question, but for those that are here,
Ed.
how long do you think, or what's a reasonable date to maybe review the regs and then submit some comments if you have them, or questions for the commission to discuss? Because I feel like if we don't put a time frame on it, then it just always gets kicked to the back burner.
I propose the same deadline we ask our applicants to hit. So Thursday before a meeting gives time for them to be kind of put together in a way, questions and comments, so that we can all process them ahead of time.
Through the chair.
Yes, Anna.
Now, do you guys want to review them before they go to Lucas for comments? Because I don't know, like, how many versions do we want to have out there? If Judy's making comments, is then, I don't know that we want to go back to Lucas. Like, does the commission want to do a once over first, and then Judy can kind of incorporate your comments or questions, and then we go to Lucas for more of a comprehensive review?
Yeah, I think that's probably a good idea, Anna. Because we might have a couple things that we highlight for Lucas too, and say, we're really not sure about this. Can you focus in or provide, I don't know, whatever we might come up with for a particular section. Will that mess up still be reasonable within their scope, Judy? I mean, I wouldn't ask them to do like add another section or something like that, but just, yeah.
Yeah, I think they included a round of review and then attending a meeting. So yeah, it might be best to try to stick to that, just one review. So maybe if folks have questions or comments, have them in by the next meeting, like Ted said, on the Thursday before or so. And then after that, we can discuss them and authorize Lucas to start their review after the next meeting, if that sounds good.
Okay. For those on the call, is that too aggressive before the next meeting, or is that reasonable with your schedules? Matt's obviously not here to speak for himself, and neither is Walter, so I might say the 28th.
Speaking for myself,
Yep.
the 28th seems a doable number. Before that seems difficult.
Okay. All right, let's shoot for that. Go ahead, Ed.
I gotta say, this is our visitor today.
Is that a
Fisher?
muskrat? Fisher cat?
Fisher.
What?
It's a fisher.
Nice.
Tail.
Looks like a mermaid.
I'll have to tell you a great Fisher story someday, Ed.
So Melissa, we're saying we have a month to read and provide feedback.
Yes.
Okay. And then it would be another 2 weeks, because after that we would give it to Lucas.
Yes. And I think when you read and provide feedback, there might be questions too that we just want to talk about as a commission.
Right. So maybe the soonest we can move forward would be 2 months from now.
Right.
Okay. All right. I would rather take our time and be thoughtful than rush anything, so sure.
Okay. Sounds like a plan. can go ahead and make your motion, Ted.
Now I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Can I-
Through the chair,
Yes, Ed.
before everybody goes away, you made a comment about putting things on the back burner, and nobody knows what the back burner is. So the back burner is not the back burner that's the furthest away from your belly on your stove. The back burner has to do with an old cook stove. Like if you want to see one, there's one at our house, which had 6 lids, and 2 lids were over the firebox. That was the front, and the lids furthest from the firebox, even though they were to the side, were the back.
Huh. Thank you, Ed.
Entirely welcome, and you're welcome to come over and check it out.
Was that also a second of my motion as well?
Sure, that's a second.
All right, all in favor, Ed,
Aye.
Peggy,
Aye.
Ted,
Aye.
and I'm also an aye. All right, thank you all.
Thank you, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.